In the long history of the world, only a few generations have been granted the role of defending freedom in its hour of maximum danger. I do not shrink from this responsibility. I welcome it.
Look at them, the citizens of this American experiment. Eyes glued to screens, minds adrift in a sea of spectacle, a relentless parade of distractions, each meticulously crafted, endlessly consumed. Reality, a fading memory, replaced by carefully curated narratives and manufactured desires. Are they truly living, these souls, or merely existing as cogs in a machine they no longer comprehend? What drives them, these phantoms of pleasure, the fleeting glory of sporting heroes, the empty promises of celebrity idols, the numbing rhythm of mass-produced music? Are these merely harmless diversions, innocent escapes from the mundane? Or do they serve a darker purpose, a deliberate strategy, a carefully constructed cage, a means of keeping the masses content, compliant, and blissfully ignorant of the forces that truly shape their lives? The illusion is masterful, I'll grant you that, a symphony of sensory overload, designed to overwhelm, to pacify, to prevent any genuine reflection. But behind the glittering facade, the truth remains, cold and immutable. This isn't freedom, it's a gilded cage. The bars are invisible, woven from entertainment and manufactured consent, but they are bars nonetheless. Tonight, we delve into the heart of the matter. We examine the mechanics of this grand deception, the subtle art of mass distraction, how entertainment, in all its myriad forms, serves as the opiate of the American empire, how television, professional sports, and popular music function as the modern-day equivalent of, well, let's just say, a very old strategy for keeping the rabble in line. Are you ready to see behind the curtain, or would you prefer to remain in the comfortable darkness of the illusion? Thanks for being here with me today. This is Musings of a Cigarette Smoking Man. I'm Stephen Leake. Bread and circuses, they called it, in Rome. Well, the circuses are obvious enough in this American experiment, but what of the bread? What sustains the masses, keeps them docile, prevents them from storming the gates? It's far more insidious than mere sustenance, my friends. We're not talking about government cheese and food stamps, though those certainly play their part. No, the bread of the American empire is far more pervasive, far more alluring. It's the illusion of endless choice and the cheap thrills of consumerism, the readily available dopamine hits that keep the masses pacified. Consider the aisles of your local supermarket, a dizzying array of products, each promising a slightly different flavor, a slightly enhanced experience. Rows upon rows of sugary cereals, processed snacks, and brightly colored beverages. Cheap calories, designed to be addictive, to bypass any semblance of nutritional value. It's not nourishment, it's just filler. Then there's the allure of cheap material goods, disposable everything, manufactured in some far-off land by exploited labor. clothes that fall apart after a few washes, electronics that become obsolete in a year, furniture that crumbles under the slightest pressure. Quantity over quality, disposability over durability, designed to be consumed and discarded, fueling the endless cycle of production and consumption. And let's not forget the ubiquity of fast food, drive-through windows on every corner, promising instant gratification at a bargain price. Burgers, fries, and sugary drinks, engineered to be as addictive as possible, a constant assault on the senses, a slow march towards obesity and ill health. But who cares? It's cheap, it's easy, and it numbs the pain of existence, if only for a moment. The bread extends beyond the physical, of course. It encompasses the digital realm as well, the endless stream of readily available content, the torrent of cat videos, reality TV, and streaming services, infinite distractions tailored to your preferences, designed to keep you glued to your screen, all for a low price. You have the world at your fingertips, knowledge maybe, enlightenment doubtful, just more noise. It's the relentless pursuit of comfort and convenience that truly defines the modern bread, the constant striving for the next upgrade, the next gadget, the next experience, the desire to avoid any form of discomfort, any challenge to the status quo. A society obsessed with ease and entertainment, allergic to critical thought or civic engagement. This bread creates a dependency, a reluctance to question the system that provides it. Why bite the hand that feeds you, even if that hand is slowly poisoning you? It's easier to stay in the comfort zone, to accept the illusion of happiness, than to confront the uncomfortable truths that lie beneath the surface. And that, my friends, is the true genius of the modern bread and circuses. It's not just about keeping the masses fed and entertained. It's about creating a population that is willingly complicit in its own subjugation. They accept the crumbs they are given, often without a second thought, oblivious to the chains that bind them, the basic needs and desires, twisted into instruments of control. A truly remarkable feat of social engineering, wouldn't you agree? A system, you're either inside or outside. What's your pleasure? A word from our sponsors, Skillcraft, the unblinking scribe. Time for a quick drag, and a word from those who understand the importance of the official record. In the shadows where I operate, discretion is paramount and documentation essential. Allow me to introduce a tool of the trade, a silent partner in the chronicles of power, the Skillcraft U.S. government pen, not flashy, certainly not glamorous, but undeniably effective. It's not designed to turn heads, only to turn pages. From the highest corridors of power where laws are forged to the darkest interrogation rooms where truths are extracted, this pen writes it all down. Legislation, treaties, surveillance logs, even your confession, crafted right here in the United States, built to last, because some records are meant to be permanent. It is the instrument of record for those who make this country run and those who make it behave. Skillcraft, the official pen of the permanent record. Make sure your story is written correctly, or at least legibly, because in the grand narrative, legibility can be just as important as truth. Well, let's talk about fueling the long night, shall we? The kind where you're wading through deception, sifting through the ashes of truth. First, fuel for the discerning observer, Black Rifle coffee. Not just caffeine, but a dark roast revelation, potent enough to keep you sharp when the word tries to lull you to sleep. For chronicling the cracks in the facade, the quiet confidant, moleskin notebooks, where inconvenient truths find a home, and where the seeds of dissent are quietly sown. I will shamelessly promote the products I actually use every day, till the end of days, because they are good companies and I have read up on and fully support everyone as everyone should. Capitalism can be a tool for social justice, actual, real social justice, by voting with your wallet and letting the market eliminate corrupt businesses. There you have it. Even in the abyss, a man's got to have his coffee and a way to write it all down. Maybe voting with your wallet is just another illusion, but if it keeps these companies afloat, I'm all for it. One less corrupt business is a start, wouldn't you say? The roar of the crowd, a primal scream echoing through the stadium. Tens of thousands of souls united by a single manufactured purpose, the triumph of their chosen tribe. It's a spectacle, a carefully constructed drama played out on manicured fields. A modern-day coliseum where athletes become gladiators and the masses are kept satiated with the illusion of victory. Professional sports, the opiate of the American empire. Consider the emotional investment. Grown men and women reduced to tears, celebrating or lamenting the outcome of a game played by millionaires. Their identities intertwined with the fortunes of a team. Their moods dictated by wins and losses. The sheer volume of emotional energy poured into these games is staggering. Energy that could be directed towards more meaningful pursuits, more critical issues, but why wrestle with the complexities of governance or the injustices of society when you can lose yourself in the simple narrative of athletic competition? The tribalism is essential, the us versus them mentality, carefully cultivated and fiercely defended, city against city, state against state, a harmless outlet for our basest instincts. But what happens when tribalism spills over into the real world? When the same fervor used to defend a football team is turned against those with differing opinions or different backgrounds. The lines blur, the stakes rise, and the game becomes far more dangerous. And then there's the money, the obscene amounts of it, billion-dollar stadiums, multi-million-dollar contracts, a massive economic engine fueled by media rights and consumer spending. Endorsement deals, merchandise sales, fantasy leagues, a constant barrage of consumerism and commercialism designed to extract every last dollar from the pockets of the faithful. Think about it. We're paying to be distracted, paying to be entertained, paying to remain blissfully ignorant of the forces that truly control our lives. The manufactured drama, the carefully crafted narratives of heroism and villainy, it's all designed to provide an escape, a temporary reprieve from the mundane realities of life, the crushing weight of responsibility, the uncomfortable truths about the world we inhabit. Why grapple with the complexities of poverty, inequality, or political corruption when you can cheer for a quarterback throwing a touchdown pass? And what happens when one of these heroes steps out of line? When an athlete dares to speak out against injustice or challenge the status quo? The backlash is swift and brutal. Endorsements are lost, careers are ruined, and the message is clear. Conformity is rewarded, dissent is punished. Stay in your lane, stick to the script, and entertain the masses. Except when dissent is just another commodity and product, which the left can't seem to see through that trope yet. But I haven't lost hope on them. It's a carefully managed spectacle designed to keep the populace engaged in harmless rivalries while the real games of power are played elsewhere. A distraction so pervasive, so ingrained in our culture that we barely even notice it. The modern-day Coliseum, where the bread is cheap beer and overpriced hot dogs, and the circus are televised for our convenience. A brilliant strategy, wouldn't you agree? Keep them entertained, keep them distracted, and they'll never notice the chains that bind them. The flickering hypnotist, television and the engineering of consent. The flickering screen, a mesmerizing portal, promising escape, connection, knowledge. But what if I told you that this window to the world is in fact a carefully crafted lens, distorting your perception, shaping your desires, and ultimately engineering your consent? From the humble cathode ray tube to the sprawling landscapes of streaming platforms, television has always been more than just entertainment. It's a powerful tool. wielded by those who understand the subtle art of mass manipulation. Consider the evolution, the early days of broadcast television, a handful of channels dictating the national narrative. Families gathered around the set, absorbing the same sanitized sitcoms, the same carefully curated news reports, a shared experience, a collective consciousness, meticulously managed. The agenda was overt: reinforce traditional values, promote consumerism, glorify the American dream. The reality distortion field. And then came reality TV, a genre seemingly born of the people, offering a glimpse into the quote-unquote real lives of ordinary individuals. But scratch the surface and you'll find a meticulously constructed facade. Scripted conflicts, manufactured drama, and carefully selected personalities, all designed to titillate and distract. The message is clear. Life is a competition. Fame is the ultimate goal, and superficiality reigns supreme. And I do not believe for a second that reality TV is actually what people want. It's a caricature. It's them making fun of Americans, in my opinion, and giving them shit. The Americans I've been privileged to know are completely different than that. And even if you do like reality TV, it's been so manufactured and pushed down our throats because of the expense of writers and the writers' strike and things like that, that they're going to, and it's so cheap and effective, they're going to push that business model as hard as they can. So it's not really, I would say, what Americans want or even like, it's what we're getting. The sitcom coma. Of course, we can't forget the sitcoms, those endlessly looping tales of suburban bliss, offering a comforting escape from the complexities of the real world. Vapid characters, predictable plots, and canned laughter, all designed to lull you in a state of blissful complacency. The problems are always easily solved, the resolutions always neatly tied up. No room for nuance, no space for critical thought, just pure, unadulterated escapism. And I'm not completely against escapism, as a matter of fact. My book is all about, my novel Gethsemane, is all about the joys of escapism. It's a necessary evil, and it helps people get through hard times. But we can be mindful of it. 24/7 sensationalism. But perhaps the most insidious form of television is a 24/7 news cycle, a relentless torment of sensationalized stories, carefully selected to provoke outrage, fear, and division. Political squabbles, celebrity scandals, and tragic events, all amplified and distorted for maximum emotional impact. The goal isn't to conform, it's to captivate, to keep you glued to the screen endlessly, consuming the narrative, never questioning the underlying motives. The dumbing down is subtle. It's a slow drip of misinformation and hyperbole, eroding our ability to discern truth from fiction, reality from illusion. A populace more interested in the latest celebrity gossip or the manufactured outrage of the day in a complex socio-political issue. And that, my friends, is precisely the point. The prestige trap. Even the so-called prestige dramas aren't immune. While offering sophisticated narratives and compelling characters, they often reinforce existing power structures, subtly normalizing certain behaviors and ideologies. The anti-hero becomes the new hero. The morally ambiguous becomes the new normal. And the audience, captivated by the compelling storytelling, fails to recognize the underlying agenda. The binge-watching abyss. And finally, there's the culture of binge-watching. I have a lot of friends that work really hard during the week and during the day and come home to just disassociate completely and veg out and be spoon-fed TV, which is just a reality we face, and I'm not going to make a value judgment on it. Entire seasons consumed in a single sitting, minds numbed by hours of uninterrupted viewing. Passivity becomes the default state, critical thinking a distant memory, a generation raised on instant gratification, conditioned to consume endless content, never questioning the source or the intent. The flickering screen, once a source of wonder, becomes a hypnotic tool, subtly shaping perceptions, engineering consent, and maintaining the American empire's stability. I'm not totally against it. These are ridiculous times, extreme times of polarization and stress for everybody. And our productivity as American workers has shot up and our pay has remained stagnant. We're not getting paid what we're worth, and our taxes do not pay for our needs completely. We are overstretched and overextended. And it's not people's fault that this is happening. We're being sucked dry of our resources by state actors and multinational corporations. And if you need to go veg out to TV because you work a hard shift, go for it. I do not give two shits, and I'm not going to judge you for that. Manufacturing desire, the music industry siren song. The Roman emperors had their lyres and bards, carefully curated to sing the praises of the regime. We have an entire industry devoted to sonic manipulation, a billion-dollar machine churning out earworms, manufactured stars, and algorithm-driven hits. Welcome to the modern circus of music, where the illusion of artistic expression makes a carefully orchestrated system of social conditioning. Mass-produced pop music is a cultural homogenizer, a relentless assault on individuality. The same beats, the same hooks, the same recycled melodies, churned out by an army of ghostwriters and producers. Individuality, forget about it. Conformity is the name of the game. The goal, to create a sound that appeals to the widest possible audience, regardless of taste or substance. You have to go out of your way to find and enjoy original shit these days. But again, this is done by giant megacorps and is not the fault of individuals. What of the lyrics? Empty platitudes about love, lust, and the pursuit of fleeting pleasure. Materialism is glorified, hedonism is celebrated, relationships are reduced to superficial encounters. Deeper issues, political realities, social injustices, those are conveniently ignored and replaced by outrage, virtue signaling as commodity, and a steady stream of vapid escapism. It's music designed to distract, to pacify, to keep the masses focused on the trivialities of life. The Billboard 100 is the new imperial march. And mind you, I don't use the word masses lightly. There are not really anything close to quote-unquote masses in this country like there have been in the past. We have such a high purchasing power and such power if we politically organize. There's no such thing as the masses in America. It's just an expression I use. The reality is that the music industry is a tightly controlled ecosystem, dominated by a handful of powerful corporations. They control the production, distribution, and promotion of music, dictating what gets heard and what gets ignored. Independent artists, they struggle to break through the noise, their voices drowned out by the deafening roar of the corporate machine. The illusion of choice once again rears its ugly head. How does music influence youth? It shapes their identities, molds their values, and channels their frustrations into harmless, marketable forms of expression. Teen angst, once a powerful catalyst for social change, is now a commodity, packaged and sold back to the very teenagers who experience it. Rebellion is reduced to a fashion statement, a fleeting trend, easily discarded and replaced by the next manufactured craze. Is it genuine art, or a carefully tuned instrument of social conditioning, a means of keeping the people docile, compliant, and blissfully ignorant of the forces that shape their lives? The answer, my friends, is as complex and dissonant as a poorly mixed pop song. It's a bit of both, a delicate balance between artistic expression and corporate control. a siren song luring us towards the rocks of conformity while promising the illusion of freedom. Hollywood's dream factory, weaving the imperial narrative. Hollywood, the land of dreams, as they call it, a glittering mirage, shimmering in the California sun. But behind the glamour, behind the carefully crafted images, lies a far more insidious reality. A dream factory, yes, but one that manufactures consent, normalizing the status quo, and subtly reinforcing the ideals of the American empire. Think about it. From the earliest days of cinema, Hollywood has been in the business of crafting national myths, glorifying certain values, individualism at the expense of the collective good, ruthless ambition masked as the American dream, unwavering militarism. The hero is also almost always an individualist, bucking the system, achieving personal success regardless of the cost to others. A subtle but pervasive message. Personal gain trumps collective well-being, although there's a place for that. The most in danger minority that exists is the individual, and we have to make sure that individual rights are taken care of before we start talking about macro patterns and social truths. Consider the war movies, countless tales of bravery and sacrifice, glorifying military might and demonizing foreign enemies. The message is clear. America is the global protector, the defender of freedom, always righteous, always justified. Nuance, complexity, rarely. Just a simple narrative of good versus evil, with America always on the side of the angels. And then there are the superhero sagas. Gods and monsters battling for the fate of the world, conveniently distracting from the real-world problems we face every day. Escapism at its finest, or perhaps its most insidious. Why engage with complex issues when you can lose yourself in a fantasy where good always triumphs over evil with a few superpowers? The entertainment industrial complex, a seamless integration of Hollywood, the media, and government agendas, funding, influence, and subtle coercion, shaping the narratives that reach the masses, a constant reinforcement of the American empire, its values, and its dominance. It's more than just entertainment, it's a carefully orchestrated campaign of cultural hegemony. The Dream Factory manufactures consent by making alternatives seem unimaginable, undesirable. They shape our perceptions of reality, normalizes the status quo, and marginalizes dissenting voices. A populace lulled into complacency by spectacle and sensation is a populace that is easily controlled. The bread and circuses of our time, projected onto the silver screen, consumed by the masses and digested as truth. Strategic maneuvers, a word from Monarch Holdings International. In a world built on illusions, some prefer to see the strings, and perhaps pull a few of their own. It's a strategic advantage, knowing the rules of the game. Allow me to direct your attention to Monarch Holdings International. Monarch Holdings is registered in Nevada, an innovative holding company dedicated to fostering entrepreneurial spirit and creativity, advancing libertarian principles like individual liberty and free markets. They achieve this through strategic investment in ventures. They employ cutting-edge business intelligence tools like IBM SPSS, IBM Watson AI, and Palantir for advanced data-driven insights, providing a strategic advantage in an age where data is power. Monarch Holdings helps you understand the patterns, perhaps even turn the tables. They champion free expression and support overlooked talent. Monarch Holdings International, unlocking your potential with cutting-edge business intelligence, or as I might say, knowing which way the wind is blowing before the storm hits. The unseen hand, architects of the American circus. Who benefits? That's always the question, isn't it? Who truly profits from this grand charade? This endless spectacle of distraction that we call the American empire. It's not some shadowy cabal huddled in a smoke-filled room, meticulously plotting our demise. at least not in the way you might think. It's far more subtle and more insidious. It's a confluence of interests, a symbiotic relationship between various power structures, each playing their part in maintaining the illusion. Corporate puppeteers, masters of the broadcast. First, consider the corporate behemoths, the media conglomerates, the entertainment giants, the consumer goods companies. They are the primary beneficiaries of our collective distraction. They own the airwaves, control the narratives, and flood our senses with a constant barrage of advertising. They profit from our desires, our insecurities, and our insatiable appetite for entertainment. Think of the media landscape, a handful of corporations controlling the vast majority of what we see, hear, and read. They dictate the news, shape public opinion, and filter out any dissenting voices. They promote the narratives that serve their interests, and they suppress the ones that don't. What they report matters as much as what they don't report. Then there are the consumer goods companies, the architects of our manufactured desires. They create the products, the brands, the lifestyles that we aspire to. They convince us that we need things we don't, that our worth is measured by what we own. They fuel the endless cycle of consumption that keeps the economy humming along and the people distracted from more pressing matters. The political establishment, shepherds of the flock. And what of the political establishment? They benefit from a docile and manageable populace too. Population more concerned with celebrity gossip and sporting events than with political reform or social justice, or turning politics into a theater and a show and reality TV itself. A population that trusts in authority and accepts the status quo, that doesn't ask too many questions. Politicians understand the power of entertainment, the ability to sway public opinion with carefully crafted sound bites and emotionally charged images. They use television, social media, and even professional sports to connect with voters, to project an image of competence and trustworthiness. They know that a well-placed photo op at a baseball game can be more effective than 1,000 policy papers. The elusive elite, architects of the system. Finally, there's the broader elite, those who occupy the highest echelons of power and influence, the wealthy, the well-connected, the decision-makers, who shape the policies that govern our lives. They may not be consciously orchestrating the bread and circuses, but they certainly benefit from the system. They enjoy the fruits of our labor, the comforts of their privileged existence, while the people remain distracted by trivial pursuits. How do these architects ensure the circuses remain alluring and the bread sufficiently satisfying? By constantly innovating, by adapting to the changing tastes and preferences of the people, by creating new forms of entertainment, new products, new distractions to keep us engaged, by subtly reinforcing the illusions that we are free, that we are in control of our own destinies, while gently guiding us down the path they have chosen. It's a delicate balancing act, maintaining the illusion of freedom while subtly enforcing control, but they've been doing it for centuries, adapting and evolving with the times. The names and faces change, the technology advances, but the underlying principles remain the same. Keep the masses fed, keep them entertained, and they'll never notice the chains that bind them. A cynical revelation, perhaps, but a truth nonetheless. And in my line of work, truth, however unpleasant, is a valuable commodity. The hangover, consequences of a sedated nation. They wake up eventually, the revelers, the pleasure seekers, the citizens of the American empire after a long night at the circus. But the hangover, that's the price they pay for their manufactured contentment, and it's a steep one. Apathy and civic disengagement. Apathy, a creeping malaise that infects the very soul of the nation. Why care about politics when there's another game to watch? Why worry about social injustice when there's a new season of your favorite show to binge? The problem seems so distant, so complex, so boring. Better to retreat into the comforting embrace of entertainment to numb the senses and forget the world outside. Civic engagement, a relic of a bygone era. Voting, a futile exercise in futility. Protests, a nuisance, disrupting the flow of traffic. The citizens of this empire are too busy, too tired, too distracted to participate in their own governance. They've outsourced their civic responsibilities to politicians and pundits, trusting them to make the decisions while they sit back and watch the spectacle unfold. Erosion of critical thinking and susceptibility to manipulation. Critical thinking. Now that's a rare commodity. Years of passively consuming entertainment, of accepting narratives without question, have eroded the ability to analyze, to evaluate, to form independent judgments. They've become slaves to sensationalism, easily swayed by propaganda and utterly incapable of discerning truth from fiction. Susceptibility to manipulation, a natural consequence of intellectual atrophy. When the mind is dulled, when critical faculties are dormant, it becomes easy to control the narrative, to shape public opinion, to steer the masses in whatever direction suits the powers that be. The news media, the social media platforms, they all play their part, reinforcing the illusion, perpetuating the lie. The people are puppets, dancing to the tune of the puppeteers. Sacrifice of genuine culture. And what of genuine culture, intellectual curiosity, communal bonds, all sacrificed on the altar of entertainment and consumerism? Superficiality reigns supreme. The pursuit of pleasure becomes the sole purpose of existence, and identity is defined by what you consume, not who you are. The local bookstore replaced by a big box retailer, the town square replaced by the multiplex, community is replaced by consumers. Rome, as I mentioned before, wasn't built in a day, but it crumbled, a slow, agonizing decline, fueled by apathy, corruption, and an insatiable appetite for spectacle. Sound familiar? The populace obsessed with comfort and convenience loses the ability to govern itself, to confront serious challenges, to recognize the threats that loom on the horizon. The price of manufactured contentment is the soul of the empire, a society that values entertainment over substance, that prioritizes pleasure over principle, is a society doomed to repeat the mistakes of the past. The American empire, like Rome before it, is teetering on the edge of the abyss, blinded by the glitter of the circus, deafened by the roar of the crowd. A crack in the arena wall, prospects for awakening. Can they wake up, the denizens of this American experiment, or are they doomed to remain forever entranced by the flickering screens, the roaring stadiums, the endless cycle of manufactured desires? A difficult question, one I've pondered for decades. I've seen empires rise and fall, civilizations crumble under the weight of their own decadence. Rome wasn't toppled by barbarians alone, it rotted from within, consumed by apathy and self-indulgence. Is America any different? Are we merely witnessing a slow-motion replay of history? Perhaps, but perhaps not. Human nature is predictable, yes, but it's also capable of surprising resilience. Even within the most oppressive systems, sparks of resistance can ignite. A flicker of doubt, a questioning glance, a refusal to blindly accept the narrative. These are the seeds of awakening. I'm not a sentimental guy. I don't believe in grand revolutions or utopian dreams. But I do believe in the power of the individual. The ability of a single mind to perceive truth, to reject the lies, to reclaim its own autonomy. Hard to say. The noise is deafening, the distractions relentless, but I see glimpses, growing skepticism towards mainstream media, a questioning of authority, a yearning for something more than the empty promises of consumerism. And I think COVID-19 pandemic was the breaking point and the watershed for this. Will it be enough? Will the sparks coalesce into a flame? I couldn't wager a guess. The forces arrayed against such awakening are formidable. The architects of the American circus are masters of manipulation, constantly adapting their strategies to maintain control. The question, perhaps, isn't can they awaken, but will they? And what would it take to shatter the illusion, to pierce the veil of manufactured consent? A crisis, a revelation, or simply a slow incremental shift in consciousness? I don't have the answers, my friends. I only offer observations, reflections from the shadows. The future is unwritten, the outcome uncertain, but one thing is clear. The choice ultimately rests with them. Will they continue to chase the phantoms of pleasure, or will they dare to confront the truth? Will they remain content in their gilded cage, or will they seek the key to unlock their own liberation? Time will tell, and time, as always, is running out. Final musings. The smoke clears, or does it? So we arrive at the end, or for what passes at the end in my line of work. We've traced the echoes of Panem et Circuses through the ages, from the Roman arena to the glittering screens of the American Empire. We've seen how the bread has evolved from simple sustenance to an endless buffet of manufactured desires, how the circuses have morphed from gladiatorial combat to the carefully orchestrated dramas of professional sports, television, and music. The truth as I see it remains stubbornly unchanged. Power seeks to perpetuate itself, and distraction is its most reliable weapon. They build the arenas, they bake the bread, and they curate the spectacle. The faces may change, the technology may advance, but the fundamental dynamic remains the same. A small elite controlling the narrative, while the masses remain enthralled by the illusion. The American empire, for all its talk of freedom and democracy, is as susceptible to this ancient trap as any civilization that came before it, perhaps even more so. The sheer scale of its distractions, the relentless assault on the senses, the sophisticated techniques of mass manipulation. It's a marvel of social engineering, a testament to human ingenuity, twisted to serve the basis of instincts. Have we offered any solutions, any hope for escape from this gilded cage? I'm not in the business of offering false promises. There are no easy answers, no simple solutions. The struggle between power and the people is an ongoing, perhaps eternal dance. Perhaps the best we can hope for is a flicker of awareness, a moment of clarity amidst the chaos, a recognition of the chains that bind us, even as we revel in the spectacle, a willingness to question the narratives we're fed, to resist the urge to simply consume. They build the arenas, they bake the bread. The show, it seems, must always go on. Until next time, try not to enjoy the spectacle too much. I'm the Cigarette Smoking Man. Thank you for being with me tonight.